everyone, I'm Sarah Marcotte for Marcotte and Marcotte, and today I'm going to be interviewing Veronica Murphy and Walter Ritter, who are involved with a program called Write Out Loud, and they are Write Out Loud San Diego chapter. So firstly, explain to me a little bit about your backgrounds.
I've been on stage since I was 4. My mother had me up singing with my sisters and performing at every community event that happened in our small town. Ultimately, I got a degree in theater and have worked actually in theater my entire adult life.
I'm a stage actor. I have no interest and no experience in TV, film, or other media. I started doing theater in high school. I think I was 15 years old when I did my first real role. And then I went to a theater conservatory that sadly no longer exists. And after a short time trying to work in New York, I chucked it and went into business for 27 years. Totally unrelated to theater. But it was a very interesting exercise. And then about 10 years ago, 10 or 11 years ago, I found myself in San Diego, which is where I had gone to school, and decided that I would look into doing theater again. And started getting roles right away and had a wonderful time. So that's what I'm doing.
Now explain for everyone out there what exactly Write Out Loud is.
Write Out Loud is a nonprofit organization. We consider ourselves a theater company, and we read literature aloud in front of an audience. And we started that by reading in formal theatrical settings on a stage with music stands. We have since expanded that, and now we do readings at festivals and at Tweenfest, in the park, and we have programs in schools through the Big Read.
And the libraries.
And the libraries, yes.
And adults and children are touched by this program, which I think is really what's great. I think that a lot of times when books are presented to younger people, that they're presented as a chore. Read chapters 1 through 15 tonight and answer these questions to prove that you did it. And I think what you do really helps literature come really just alive for people. What, in your opinion, are some of the common failings, maybe educational, societal, that cause people to lose interest in literature? And how is Write Out Loud's approach different?
Well, societally, there's a lot of competition for especially the attention of youngsters and of everybody, actually. For the time that they might have once devoted to reading just for recreational enjoyment is now spent, it used to be devoted much to the television, but now the television is surpassed by the internet, and film, home theater films, and the like, right in many, many people's homes, whether it's on a big screen or a small one. And reading, I think, has slipped to becoming a distant back seat to those activities. And the visual is more captivating than text. It's just a fact that we're wired for responding more viscerally to things we see than to things that we read about. So Write Out Loud finds a happy middle. We do strive to bring pieces of literature, primarily short stories, literally to life or figuratively off the page.
One of the things I think is interesting that in addition to performing these, you're getting kids involved in different contests, different programs that you run. Can you explain to us a little bit about how those work?
Yes, we're doing that through a program called the Big Read, and it's funded by the National Endowment for the Arts. We work very closely with the public library and with schools, and we encourage young people to read a piece of literature and then reimagine it into something that's important to them. So, if they're interested in fashion, they read a story and then maybe create a costume or a fashion design. Or if they're interested in poetry, they might create a poem or a short story or a painting or an illustration or a tattoo or painting their skateboard or whatever it is that's important to them, taking the literature and creating something based on that literature.
Then, with touching on young people, there's been just a big upsurgence in reading lately. Say Harry Potter, The Hunger Games, Twilight. Younger people are starting to read again, and not only that, they're proud of it. It's not something that they do and feel nerdy about. They're happy. They have clubs. They want to talk about it. Have you ever considered performing one of these pieces of literature? Why or why not?
I don't think we have. And probably because we're not very aware of them. Only their titles,
Right.
I know. I've never read a Harry Potter story, as a matter of fact. So,
Is that true?
right. And I've certainly never read those other things. So that would be, in my case, it's ignorance.
I've read all the Harry Potter books, and I think they're wonderful, but they're a pretty big bite.
Yeah.
What we typically do is when we read aloud, we read usually short stories or poetry. Those are pretty short pieces. We've done some pieces that are 45, actually an hour long, but to ask an audience to sit for that long and just listen to one voice, we feel like that's big to ask.
Now, when you find a piece of literature that you do want to use for Write Out Loud, short story, what have you, how do you know that you've found the right piece? What are your criteria usually for choosing something?
Because I wrote, "This is gold" on top.
And actually, Walter does a lot of reading. He has time to read more than I do.
See, it isn't enough that it's a really great story. Because when you are composing a program, there are other issues. All the stories need to be pretty darn good to get into the program at all. But if this story has the same value as another sort of values as another story you've already committed to do, then you probably can't repeat it in that program.
Right. Or if you have too many stories that are too serious or too emotional, and you really need something light and funny because you want to have a nice balance, a nice tapestry of a program, then that makes a difference too. So if things are too similar or too, just not enough variety.
Right.
And that's one of our big, it's not really a challenge, it's just one of our goals.
So what events do both adults and young people have to look forward to from Write Out Loud?
Coming up?
Mm-hmm.
Big Read,
Big Read.
Yeah, the big read.
Fahrenheit
absolutely.
451. That's going on now. It's not too late to get involved. Just contact Write Out Loud. Month of April, we're doing Big Read activities, all based on Fahrenheit 451 for the entire month of April, all over San Diego County.
We have workshops coming up, art workshops, graphic novel workshops, and when we've held graphic novel workshops for kids, but it's not just kids who come.
Yeah.
We're going to be doing a program in June called Food for Thought. I think that's going to be appealing to a variety of people. And our April, the regular season program in April, is an homage to Ray Bradbury. And that will be a variety of stories by Bradbury.
February, we're doing not one, but two Valentine's Day shows. One called Hearts of Fire and the other one called Love Notes. Very great shows. They're wonderful shows. But don't forget Twain Fest. On Saturday, August 17th, there will be the 4th annual mounting of Twain Fest, which is a one-day festival celebrating Mark Twain and many of his contemporary writers in 19th century America.
And it's not limited to literature. We have music and we have puppets and
History,
games
dance.
and history, and it's a big fun day. And it's free.
Excellent. That's always good. So have there been any events when you have been hosting them that you wished had turned out differently, and how so?
I've often wished we had more people in the audience.
So how can people get involved, or what websites would they go to if they see this, if it's sparking their interest, it sounds like something they want to do? How do they?
WriteOutLoudSD.com.
And
That's one.
That has information about all of our programs. And you can email us at, what is it? Oh, writeoutloudsd@gmail.com.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for doing this interview with us today.
Thank you.
And everybody, you heard that, so make sure you go and check out Write Out Loud. It's something that you can get involved in, something that's really interesting, and it's a great show. You don't want to miss it. Okay, thank you so much. This is Sarah Marcotte from Marcotte & Marcotte. Thank you for joining us today.